Good morning, my good friends. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome. Welcome, my good friends. Welcome, welcome. Good morning. Let me introduce myself. My name is Andre Lefevre from wildnews.us. And I like to mouth off on things political, things cultural, things interesting. I am on my way to work. I'm a citizen journalist. I have a career that has nothing to do with journalism or information dissemination, but I decided to pull off the road and, excuse me, do a headline digest, the news digest for this morning. And today is June 12, 2018. I'm in California. Just about 50 miles east of Los Angeles. It is 8:12 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Well, let's get into it. Let's look at the headlines and let's read between the lines. The thing that dominates the news right now is the fact, and Yahoo headlines speaks volumes. Trump and Kim signed joint statement promising complete denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula. Let's dissect this real quick and read between the lines. For one thing, they did not reach an agreement today, yesterday, or the day before. This agreement was reached between China and United States quite a while back. I think the reason it was postponed and there was a lot of dance, smoke and mirrors, is because they were talking about the procedure, how they're going to announce it. Let's face it, the North Korea is not an independent actor. They are a puppet of China. And what is significant is that the portion of the U.S. government, of the deep state that supports Donald Trump, overwhelmed that portion that would like to have a permanent war. And they reached an agreement with China. I suspect, though, that China's desire is not to have peace and prosperity in the Korean Peninsula, but absorb South Korea into their sphere of influence. I have no doubts that eventually both Koreas will unify. I don't think this is a long-term Chinese plan, and quite frankly, I'm not sure what the long-term plan our government has for the Korean Peninsula, and it could be that we don't have any. But I don't know whose victory it is. It is definitely victory for those of us who don't like permanent war, but long-term strategic, it may be the victory for China. Just something to think about. Also, question comes up: what did we need to give up in order to achieve that particular photo opportunity? What did we give China in return? Not Korea. What did we give China in return for China to agree for the North Korea to sign that agreement? Something to keep in mind. Next story. This one is from Washington Times. I just want to keep this alive. The headline is "Real Life House of Cards. A fast-tracking reporter, her sources, and their illicit romance." Just to remind you folks, let me read you a couple of paragraphs and then we'll dissect this. Reporter Ali Watkins, age 22, made an immediate imprint on Washington journalism in 2014, helping McClatchy News win Pulitzer honors for the insider story about the Senate Select Committee on Intelligence. What is known today is that in December 2013, the Temple University intern had begun a romantic relationship with James A. Wolf, a man 30 years her senior. He happened to sit in a flow of juicy information as director of security for the same Senate committee. The reporter thought romance would last 4 years. Then the FBI intervened. And to cut the story short, Wolf was arrested for lying to FBI, which is obstruction of justice. And he was the leaker. He leaked the information about how how the investigation of non-existent Russian collusion was going on. It gives you an insider view of what's going on in Washington, D.C., how our elites play, have illicit affairs, and try to rule us. You know, this is I don't really have the right words for it. A 22-year-old reporter sold her pussy. I don't know how else to say it, for a good story. Something to chew on. Something to chew on. All right. The next story comes from the freethoughtproject.com, a libertarian website. San Francisco just made flavored tobacco illegal, making vapors and menthol smokers potential criminals. Let's read the paragraph. As the entire state of California has recently taken a step towards the drug war by legalizing cannabis, the city of San Francisco has taken a step back by passing a ban on e-cig liquid and menthol cigarettes. The law had been pending since the last summer due to challenges from coalition of business, including tobacco giant R.J. Reynolds, the producer of Newport, the most popular menthol cigarette. I don't think this is complicated to dissect. It's simply what we have: progressive Nazis, progressive fascists, flexing their muscles in Frisco. That's all there is. They believe in large government, like Mussolini did, and just like Adolf Hitler did, and they just want to control every aspect of our lives. I mean, they claim to be freedom-loving people, but it's a huge lie. Just read Dinesh D'Souza's last book. This is the latest manifestation what the hard left is all about. They are progressive Nazis. All right, so this story, going back to Washington Times, this is actually good news. Supreme Court gives okay to states to clean voting rolls. So let me read a couple of paragraphs. States have a legal duty to clean up their voter rolls, the Supreme Court said Monday in a decision upholding Ohio's particularly practiced approach to deleting people if suspects have moved out of the district. The ruling is already boosting conservative groups pushing to have their states clean up their voting rolls, but drew consternation from voting rights activists who said they fear states would target minorities for removal. This is another manifestation where the liberal Nazis, the progressive Nazis, when they keep on voting dead people and illegal aliens, and when libertarians and conservatives object, they scream bloody murder. Let's face it, progressive Nazis, the hard left, doesn't have the popular support in the United States. The only reason they win is because they vote cemeteries, and they vote illegal immigrants illegally, and they commit all other vote fraud and election chicanery. And every time we libertarians and conservatives call them to task, they scream discrimination. But who is discriminating against who? Moving on. Well, let's see here. All right, this one is from Washington Times. Justice Department backs lawsuit against University of Michigan's bias response team. Yeah, let me read you a couple of paragraphs. The Trump administration weighed in Monday on a federal lawsuit challenging the constitutionality of policies prohibiting expression of bias at the University of Michigan, arguing that the public school has been unlawfully punishing students for speech protected by the First Amendment. In a statement of interest, the Justice Department said the Ann Arbor University has imposed a system of arbitrary censorship and punishment for constitutionally protected speech. This is not a difficult one to understand. The progressive Nazis have lost the argument of ideas and philosophical argument, so they want to shut us up. and they're very successful in the public schools and public universities. And I'm glad that their politically correct censorship is being challenged. Every time you shut somebody up, you admit that you lost in the market of ideas, in the realm of ideas. And I hope this lawsuit prevails. And quite frankly, it may be too late for the government-supported universities and schools. In my view, public education just needs to be abolished, and the Department of Education needs to be abolished, and we have to look at other different remedies to this problem. As long as public education exists and federal money, and they depend on federal money, we're going to have that problem. But this lawsuit is interesting. I'm going to follow it and see how it develops. Thanks for tuning in. Check out my website, wildnews.us. And folks, God bless you. God bless you.